welcome back to Brainstorming America. Forgot where I was at there for a minute. Thought I was in Boston. But back here with John Merrill. And when I went to break, I was telling you about the breakup of Kareem Jean-Pierre and her, I don't know what to call it, because it was her...
Paramour.
Her what?
Paramour.
I don't know what you call it. I never heard of that. That sounds like you buying some socks or something. But anyhow, her lover, she was in a relationship for 10 years. I didn't say that in the early part. She's in a 10-year relationship with a host on CNN, Suzanne Malval. You'll see how I said it, Suzanne Malval. And she was in a 10-year relationship. And the reason I brought that up was from the audience, from the press brought up the question that she seemed to be snappy. And she was sharp with some of her answers. So I want you to know, if you see her being a little bit short, she's always short, but little shortcomings with the press, it might be that she's having problems with her relationship. After 10 years, that's a long time. I give you the news. I don't make the news. And I know that a lot of people are wondering why she's acting that way. And I'm here to tell you. So you're welcome, America.
Do you want them to have mercy on her if she's acting like that?
I do. I want to say, in the South, we got 3 words. Bless her heart. If somebody comes in this studio where we're recording and runs into the glass door, we'll all say, bless his heart. If he busts his nose. On the way home, if somebody walks out in front of me and John in our vehicle and we hit them, somebody's going to say, bless his heart. Either for us or the guy that's roadkill. So, anyhow, see where that just takes us? But anyhow, John, we were talking about the immigration thing earlier. Some of the cities are actually declaring war, and I didn't talk about Arizona's one of them, Tucson, Phoenix. All of them are declaring war, like a real-time war in their cities. Chicago's another, and that guy, he ran on, I won't put you in jail. The new mayor, that the one that used to be there, what's her name, Beetlejuice, she didn't put nobody in jail. Now this other, he ran on it saying, I'm not going to put you in jail. And it's working. They're not putting them in jail, and they're tearing the place apart. Everybody leaving there. I saw one go by on the way coming in here. No, it's
There's nothing going on in Chicago right now that a return of Richard Daley couldn't correct. I can assure you of that.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I'm telling you, Mayor Daley had that city under control. And then when Richard, his son, came in to be the mayor, about 20 years later, the same thing happened. And Chicago's had some outstanding mayors, and they've had some leaders at different times that served different purposes, whether it was Jane Byrne, whether it was Harold Washington, whether it was Eugene Sawyer, whoever it happened to be. But Richard Daley and his dad were 2 of the most phenomenal leaders in the history of the Republic when it comes to managing a big city. And you put either one of those guys back in charge of Chicago now, you give them about 6 months and they'd have that place under control one more time.
Well, you know, the same thing over in New York. I'm not a Giuliani fan, but
you used to be.
Well, I could have been. But what he did to that city was phenomenal. It was stop and frisk. You had no right to think that you could just walk down the street carrying guns under your clothes. And I said guns, plural. You couldn't do that and just not worry about getting stopped. And he put the fear of the police into those young fellas that decided they want to do that, and he straightened up the city. And they say New York was one of the safest cities in America. It's hard to believe now.
No doubt
looking
about
at
it.
today.
No doubt about it.
People are afraid to go there. You can imagine, afraid to go to your town.
Well, that's the thing, Ken. Leadership can change a lot of things in a positive way. Leadership can change, or the lack of leadership can change a lot of things in a negative way. But what you have to do is you have to have a strong individual who is committed to doing things the right way. And whenever they are, if they can surround themselves with outstanding people, and there are other people in leadership positions, whether it be members of the city council, whether it be county commissioners, whether it be department division heads, whatever it happens to be, those teams working together can make a difference in a municipality, in a county, in a state, and in our nation.
Now, I don't know how much time we got out there. The floor manager, yeah, he said we got one more hour. He shook one finger. So
It was the right finger, though.
the one question.
You've seen the other one.
One of them. You better watch it. A couple weeks ago, we had a thing called a football game here. Had one team was Alabama, and the other one was Texas.
That's right.
What was your thoughts on that? I know you.
Going into the game, I felt like Alabama was going to dominate. I felt like we would win 31-14. I was very disappointed in the way the game turned out. Cindy and I have seen Alabama and Texas play 3 times. We saw the national championship game in '09. We went to Austin last year, and we saw the game this year. But we lost that game, and we played another one and won, and we got others to come too. And we hope you'll come back and join us for the next segment of Brainstorming America.
Roll Tide. Welcome back to Brainstorming America. Ken Rollins. Still, hope you got you something to drink out of the refrigerator, because this one is going to be about something that's going to really get to you. The electric car. I know it. Don't throw nothing. Don't throw it. But the electric car takes 2 hours to charge. Now, John, the way you go, you get ready to leave your day, and you got to get your car charged 2 hours. In your day, average day, do you have 2 hours to charge your car?
I do not have 2 hours to charge my car. And the thing that you have to understand, and the reason I continuously look as though I'm so irritated about this electric car phenomenon, is because I am. Because this is being driven by the government. It's not being driven by the private sector. It's not being driven by the market. It's not being driven by individuals. No pun intended when I say it's not being driven by. I'm just telling you it's a major concern, because it's being directed by, it's being promoted by, it's being driven by certain members of Congress, certain United States senators, President Joe Biden and his team. That's a problem for us. Never in the history of the Republic, with the possible exception of the space program, has the nation embraced an opportunity for leadership in a particular field that would advance us beyond where we currently were. It's always been done by the private market, by the private sector, and that's where we need to be today. When we had the joint effort to create the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, we identified the Mercury 7 astronauts. We created the Gemini program. We created the Apollo program. We sent Space Lab up. All of that was done for the benefit not just of our nation, but of mankind. And it's the greatest accomplishment in the history of the world. But when we're talking about creating vehicles that are powered by batteries without gasoline or diesel fuel, we have an abundance of those items today and for the foreseeable future from any expert that evaluates where we are, objectively evaluates where we are. And yet we continue to accede to these individuals who think they have the best interest of the country and the best interest of the world in mind when they promote electric vehicles. Wake up, America.
That's where you hit it on the head for me. When we're doing something that will make us better. But we got better already, and they want to kill better and put something in there. You ready to pay $65,000 for your new car that could burn you up before you had a chance to get out of it? And we were the dominant fuel country when Donald Trump was the president. We were the dominant country for oil. We were the number one. We were selling it to everybody. Now they've cut it loose. And I don't understand no more than I do the border situation. Why are we tearing down our fossil fuel vehicles when we don't have something to replace them? Now, they showed pictures in China of solid acres and acres and acres of electric cars they can't sell. They got several thousand of them in America. Nobody wants to buy. So they're going to force
It's because it's being driven by the government and not by
force.
the market.
Right.
That's the key. That's why we live in a free market system, and we need to let the market drive the conversation.
But by us, and I say us, the United States of America, we are under a dome, and each day we turn. As we turn under that dome, we don't do too many emissions. But there's another country that's under that dome that's just spewing it out like black soot. India, Russia, China, all those countries are filling up the ozone.
Well, when they're talking about people's carbon footprints and they're talking about how they charge us for the pollution that we're putting in the atmosphere, they're not talking about what they're doing to those countries and how they're behaving only in the United States. And our people are the only ones that are dumb enough to listen to that and to accede to the direction that they're being given by the government. We need to let the market take care of itself. That's how America became the greatest country in the history of the world. And it's the only way that we're going to remain the greatest country in the history of the world is by continuing to let our people determine where we go and why we're going there and why the market needs to direct the conversation.
The Energy Secretary just recently did a cross-country electric car tour with a group of her people, about 7 or 8 vehicles. They got into so much trouble. At one point, they got the law called on them. They were holding up the pumps, I don't want to call them pumps, but charging stations so much, and nobody else could get into it. So not only were they having to just wait as they normally would, but the Secretary of Energy was there trying to get her Cadillac, electric Cadillac, charged up. So it was not a success. She admitted that. But they're doing this before they tested it.
No doubt, but let's say this. We want you to make sure that you join us again after this break and your batteries are recharged for the final segment of Brainstorming America.
Welcome back to Brainstorming America. Ken Rollins here. And here with John Merrill. He's still John Merrill. And I'll make sure nothing changed with that. We was talking about the electric car, but I think America is going to be a turning point for us because we are going so far out there for that, just like we did with these windmills. The windmills, we're watching huge 1,000-pound whales come to the beach. And guess what's in the area now? The windmills are out in the water. I don't know if you ever done this, but as a kid, we violated the law. We'd take an old crank that would generate electricity. It was for an old phone system, and we'd put the wires in the water, and the fish would come up as far as the eye could see. And these windmills are generating electric source that these whales travel by electric current. If they make in the water, they're turn lefts and turn right, and it's sending them ashore. And they like hundreds of them, of whales. Now I'm not talking about bass. Whales just coming ashore in New Jersey, and where they're doing it, right outside, you can see the windmills in the background. And so then you look at the windmills out in Kansas, and you see a row of bald eagles right there from the windmill. I can remember when the environmentalists would probably want somebody to be hung by the neck if they killed a whale. I remember the thing called Save the Whales. You remember that?
Absolutely.
And now it's the hell with the whales. Let's get us some windmills going. And if you ever see one of them things catch on fire, what it does, I mean, you're talking about some forest fires that they ain't never seen. But anyhow, I don't think this has been thought out. John mentioned it a while ago that the thinking process is going behind the building process. They're building it and they'll think about it later, I think. That's what I think they're doing. But I'm not going to talk about Suzanne Malball. But we are having a thing called an inquiry that's underway as we speak. Thursday is the first questioning on the Joe Biden inquiry for impeachment. Now, that is different than being an impeachment, folks. The only way they can get the information, they couldn't get it through the FOIA, Freedom of Information. They can't get these answers that they're looking for. They want to see where the money came from that went into the account of Joe Biden for $20 million when he didn't do anything. How did $23 million go into Hunter's account and he can't even spell Hunter? How did they do with Jim Biden, the big brother? Wait, y'all listen to that name. Remember Jim Biden, big brother to Joe. He's the kingpin. You're about to find out. Even the granddaughter, folks, was getting checks into this LLC, these accounts that were just set up under the name of Biden. As they call it, the brand. So wait till you see what we already know and see what you think about the corruption that we're living under to this day. So it's an inquiry so that this oversight committee can get access to the information. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, John, but that worries me.
Well, it should worry all of us, but I think the most important thing that we've got to do is let the process run its course, see what evidence has been introduced that we may not even be aware of yet, and see if any prosecutorial authority needs to be introduced in order to make sure that people pay for crimes that may have been committed. But what we don't need to do, and what happens all the time, especially in Washington, is jump to conclusions about what should happen until we see all the evidence. So let's wait and see, and then let's take the appropriate action once the evidence has been presented.
When you see in this day that we're at war with Ukraine and Russia, I say we, we're putting the money in there, so we're in that war. And our president is making decisions for Ukraine. He was also making decisions as the vice president for Barack Obama for Ukraine. And so, could there be a possibility that any of these decisions he's making as president be influenced by his son, money that he was getting from Ukraine, his brother was getting from Ukraine, his granddaughter getting from Ukraine? Just saying, could be. But and then before I go, I got to ask, how things going over your new place?
It's going
Wagner.
great. You're very kind to ask. You
Wagner
know,
Engineering.
one of the things that I continue to do in my role in the private sector is to continue to travel all over the state of Alabama. As of today, I've been to 49 of the 67 counties at least one time for 429 unique visits to those 49 counties. Of course, we still have several months left, so I'll make the other 18 before the end of the year, and it'll be all 67 for the 11th year in a row and the 12th time overall. I don't know a better way to observe what the needs are in municipalities and counties, with associations, with utilities, than by visiting with folks who are trying to make those decisions and do what's in the best interest of their particular community. So, as I was able to be so helpful so many times in my public sector role, I want to continue to do that in the private sector as well.
Well, that's what I was really wanting to hear from you, that you feel like that your role in this elected sector and all that has helped you what you're doing there.
Without question. And that has been a major benefit for me, and I think it's been a major benefit for those communities that we've been able to work with. And we hope that you think that Brainstorming America has been a benefit to you again this week. Thank you for joining us each and every week. We have a great time with you. If you have ideas about things that need to be shared about our program, please contact us. We'll look forward to seeing you next week for the next exciting edition of Brainstorming America.